Ryan had always believed he was a careful driver. He wasn't the type to speed through empty roads or show off in front of friends. He followed traffic rules, wore his seatbelt every time, and even kept a small notebook in his car where he wrote reminders about when to change the oil or rotate the tires. But life has a strange way of testing even the most careful people, especially when they least expect it. On a normal Thursday afternoon, Ryan learned that sometimes one simple mistake, even one tiny second, can change everything. He had just finished his long shift at the hardware store where he worked. His manager had asked him to cover extra hours because 2 employees had called in sick. Ryan agreed without complaining, but the day had drained him. He felt the kind of exhaustion that slows down your footsteps and makes your thoughts blurry. When he walked out of the store, the sky was soft and cloudy, and the warm air felt heavy. All he wanted was to reach home, change clothes, and rest for a while before meeting his friends later that evening. When he sat in his car, he leaned his head back for a moment and breathed deeply. His eyes stung with tiredness. His body felt stiff, but he told himself he could handle the short drive home. It was only 20 minutes. He started the engine, rubbed his eyes, and told himself to stay alert. He even opened the window a little so the breeze would help him stay awake. The road was familiar, one he had taken hundreds of times. He liked this route because it passed by a row of tall trees that always gave him a peaceful feeling. He turned on the radio and let the soft background music fill the silence. Everything felt normal, calm, predictable. But that was the danger when things feel too calm. The mind sometimes relaxes more than it should. As he drove, he noticed his eyelids getting heavier. He blinked a few times, hoping it would help. He took a deep breath, shook his shoulders, and tried to sit up straighter. But none of it worked for long. His body was simply too tired. Every minute that passed made it harder to keep his eyes open. He kept telling himself he was fine, that he was almost home, and that he just needed to push through a little more. His phone buzzed once beside him. It was probably his friend Leo, checking if they were still meeting later. Ryan ignored it and kept his hands on the wheel, but the buzzing made him think about how tired he felt. What if he simply closed his eyes for a second, just 1 second, to give his mind a tiny moment of rest? He knew it wasn't a good idea. He knew he shouldn't do it. But exhaustion sometimes makes people think in strange ways. Their judgment becomes weak, and their mind convinces them that something dangerous is harmless. And in that moment, Ryan made the biggest mistake of his life. He closed his eyes, just for 1 second. But 1 second on the road can be the difference between safety and disaster. When he opened his eyes, everything was wrong. His car had drifted slightly to the right, and the peaceful tree-lined road was no longer peaceful. A delivery truck was coming toward him from the other lane, much closer than it should have been. His heart jumped. His hands tightened around the steering wheel. He tried to turn quickly, but because he panicked, the movement was too sharp. The road beneath him seemed to twist. The tires screeched. The car swayed dangerously. Ryan felt the world tilt as he lost control. The trees on the side of the road rushed toward him. He could hear the sound of metal scraping and something heavy shaking inside the car. Everything happened in a blur of motion, fear, and confusion. When the car finally stopped, the world around him went still. The engine sputtered quietly before turning off completely. The air felt thick and heavy. Ryan's hands were trembling. His chest rose and fell quickly as he tried to understand what had just happened. He looked around slowly. The car was tilted slightly on uneven ground. The front bumper was smashed, and the hood had popped open. Smoke drifted lightly into the air, not from fire, but from the shock of the impact. Ryan felt dizzy, as if the world were spinning even though everything had gone silent. He touched his forehead gently and let out a shaky breath when he realized he wasn't seriously hurt. He felt shaken, sore, and frightened, but he was alive. That fact alone made his eyes water. He unbuckled his seatbelt and forced himself to step outside. His legs felt weak, and the ground felt unsteady beneath him. He leaned against the car and looked at the road. Only a few seconds earlier, he had been driving peacefully, thinking about going home and resting. Now he stood there staring at the result of one tiny mistake closing his eyes when he should have stayed awake. The delivery truck had stopped a little ahead. The driver jumped out and rushed toward him. "Are you okay?" the man asked breathlessly. Ryan nodded slowly. I think so. What happened?" "Your car swerved right into my lane." Ryan couldn't answer right away. Shame washed over him. He knew exactly what had happened, but saying it out loud felt too painful. "I was tired," he finally whispered. "I closed my eyes." Just for a second, the truck driver looked at him with a mix of relief and worry. "You're lucky. If you had drifted even a little more, this could have been much worse." Ryan felt his throat tighten. He knew the man was right. The thought of what could have happened made his stomach twist. He could have hit the truck. He could have been badly hurt or worse. Someone else could have been hurt because of him. The weight of that possibility hit him harder than the crash. The truck driver helped him move the car safely to the side of the road and called for assistance. A few other passing drivers slowed down to check if he needed help. Their kindness made him feel even more emotional. He didn't deserve their concern, he thought. He had caused this. His mistake, his carelessness, his 1 second of weakness had led to this moment. As he waited for the tow truck, Ryan sat on a fallen tree trunk and stared at the damaged car. It didn't look the same anymore. The smooth shape was bent and broken. The headlights were cracked, and the windshield had a long line across it. It felt strange to see something familiar look so ruined. He rested his elbows on his knees and covered his face with his hands. Tears finally escaped, quietly at first, then harder. Not because he was physically hurt, but because he was overwhelmed with guilt and fear. He kept thinking about that 1 second. How easy it had felt. How harmless it had seemed. How that small moment had led to all of this. His phone buzzed again. This time, he pulled it out and saw Leo's name on the screen. "Hey, where are you? Everything okay?" Ryan stared at the message for a long moment before replying. "I had an accident. I'm okay, but it was my fault. I was tired and closed my eyes. Leo called immediately." His voice was full of worry. "Are you safe? Do you need me to come get you?" Ryan nodded, even though his friend couldn't see him. "Yeah," he said softly. "Can you come?" "I don't want to be alone right now." "I'm on my way," Leo replied without hesitation. When Leo arrived, he rushed to Ryan and hugged him tightly. Ryan didn't expect that, and it made him tear up again. They sat together quietly as the tow truck loaded the damaged car. Neither of them needed to say much. The silence was enough to understand everything that mattered. After getting home, Ryan told his mother about the accident. She gasped and held his face gently in her hands, tears forming in her eyes. "You scared me," she whispered, "but I'm grateful you're here. Please, never drive when you're too tired. Promise me." "I promise," Ryan said, his voice breaking. That night, he lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. He kept replaying the moment in his mind, the moment he closed his eyes. He realized how fragile life could be, how quickly things can change, and how important it is to keep your full attention on the road. He also understood something deeper. Being a good driver wasn't just about following rules. It was about respecting life, his own and others. It was about making responsible choices, even when he felt tired, stressed, or distracted. It was about knowing when to stop, rest, or ask for help. The next morning, he sat at the kitchen table with a cup of warm tea. His mother joined him, her eyes still red from crying. Ryan reached out and held her hand. "I learned my lesson," he said quietly. and I won't forget it." She gave him a soft, emotional smile. "I know you won't." Ryan looked out the window at the bright morning light. The world felt more precious now, more delicate. He knew he had been given a second chance, one he could easily have lost because of one careless second. He promised himself he would never take that chance again. Moral lesson: even 1 second of distraction or tiredness behind the wheel can change your entire life. No matter how short the distance or how confident you feel, never drive when you are too tired, and never take your eyes off the road. Your life and the lives of others are too precious to risk.